Did you bring some fish?
That is quite logical, Captain.
Where shall I strike?
Test your might. Test your might.
Get it out! Get it out!
Test your might. Test your might.
Your mother was a murderer!
Hello everybody and welcome to show 121 of the Geek Card. I am of course Razerbug, and with me is the ever effervescent Robbie Glow.
Hello, effervescent.
Yes.
Am I? Okay. Good to know.
It's your sparkling personality.
Oh, right. I see.
Yes.
I see.
There
Right.
you go.
You saved yourself there.
I did. Otherwise I just called you fizzy. I'm not quite sure what that means.
I'm a little bit fizzy.
You're a little bit fizzy.
Yeah.
I've heard it said.
Maybe not. Oh, dear.
How was your fizzy geeky week then, Robbie?
It's been ungeeky apart from our Wednesday night raid, really.
Yes.
Yeah, I had real life things happen. Like what? And we did some WoW, and we did raid night with GGW, and we actually finished the first raid of an expansion on time almost.
We did.
I
We're
know.
ready to go into Desire Law.
Although we did do the first boss of that too.
That's true, we did. I forgot about that.
Yeah, we did. We did that like the last half an hour of the night because we were like, oh well, we struggled with the last boss of Uldir a few times, like the time before, and we were like, okay, well, you know, it's one boss left. We'll spend the whole time doing that, and then all of a sudden, everything clicked, and within like 3 or 4 goes, we'd finished it.
And didn't we get the first boss of Desire Law down in like 2 pulls? Because we said, oh, let's have a quick go, and then, I think we're getting this. Let's have another go. And suddenly
I think it was 3.
It was 3, was it? Okay.
Yeah, we had that weird bit where you had to sort of turn around from like the one of the paladin people.
Oh yeah, that's right. And it didn't clock to me that healers don't need to be able to see their target.
So Raven, myself, and you had all sort of looked at a corner of a wall the whole boss fight, and we're fine.
Which is really weird because you can't heal someone if they're not in your line of sight, but you don't actually have to be looking at them to heal them.
Most heals are for discipline priests at least are area of effect in terms of casting rather than line of sight. It's only the like direct heal, as in for discipline priests it's like penance because it comes from your character's arm. And that's
penance will turn you to look at someone.
That will follow them around as you're casting.
All my paladins like flashes of light and actual heals. They're all like they'll all complain at me if I'm not in line of sight of the tank, but then at the same time they apparently don't care if I'm actually just not looking at the tank. As long as I'm on the same latitude of the tank, that's all it cares about.
Yeah. As long as you're not standing on one step.
Yeah, if I'm one step up from the tank, even though I can see him completely unobscured, I can't heal him. If I'm looking at a wall and not at the tank, I'm good as gold.
Yep, perfectly fine. You know,
working as intended.
How ridiculous sometimes. But anyway, we got the first boss of that down, and that was pretty fun. I actually quite liked the aesthetic of the new raid, actually. I know that the first bit of Uldir is also kind of a bit relic heavy, and it's got that sort of dark, not dull tone of like a museum that's been left for too long. But this other one is like an actual, like we're going into the opposition's main city, and
yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how the weird mechanic works where. You know, we get a slightly different experience to the Horde, but they're doing the same thing.
Yeah, because that's a theme that has been going on quite a lot in this expansion. Because even in the war front, you know, the time when you're not actually the time that you're actually in the war front itself, but the time after when you're in the area and you have the world quests. There are different bosses or different rares for each side when they've got the territory. So you can get the same things, but they drop from different mobs depending on which side you're on. And that's quite cool, really, because it's not just a static, oh, everybody hates this one person. It's more of a, oh, this mob actually finds the Alliance friendly, whereas this one finds the Horde, and the Horde are aggressive towards it. But they drop, like, a mount or whatever, which is all right. Speaking of mounts, we need to get moose mounts, apparently.
We do, yes.
Yes, which is lucky for us. Because on Wednesday, the archaeology moose reappears. So
what was it our raid decided to call itself? Something moose related?
Team Easily Amoosed.
Easily Amoosed.
And there's a hashtag on Twitter now that is all our own. I'm checking it now. I think technically I officially started it.
Oh, right.
Yeah, hashtag Team Easily Amoosed.
Look at you trendsetter.
I know, right? But the funny thing is that was a total joke name that everyone was like, oh, actually, that's quite cool. Because one of the hunters has a spirit moose as a pet.
Spirit moose.
Yeah, who has
an emotional support moose.
He's the raid's emotional support moose, and he also pulls. But so he has a habit of putting his butt where he doesn't belong. So we were like, oh, we'll have for laughs. So someone suggested, oh, we're not very easy. It's probably you because it's a pun.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't not you. Not.
No, it wasn't me.
Oh.
I think I was actually away from the computer at the time. I came back to find everyone was going off on one about me.
Yeah, I'm quite sad that it wasn't you. But someone was like, oh, I'm not very easily amused about all this. And we're like, oh, that's a team name. That's a raid name. I think we had the discussion is like, oh, yeah, so, it's GGW Casual Raid. Doesn't quite have the slip of the tongue, does it? So we need a collective team name so we can challenge method.
Yeah, because that's happening.
Yeah, because that's happening. Yeah, and Red Bull's got us on the line. Like, don't you know this? But yeah, we are going to go back on Wednesday. Hopefully, I will have a moose by then. Apparently, it doesn't take too long to do the archaeology thing. It's just one of those grindy things. That's like pick 600 things from the sites and archaeology in one area. And then it's like, oh, someone suggested putting on a podcast in the background while I did it, so I might do that on Wednesday afternoon before the raid.
Fair enough.
See what we do. But that's been my week. Not very exciting. Just wow. What about you?
Well, that's almost more than me. I've not had any D&D. Not had any. Not had much time wowing. I think we just sort of did one evening of it, other than the raid.
I think we had the raid, but then we made the mistake of trying to start the weekly mythic because it was the 4 mythics for a piece of current tier gear, as the weekly quest from Mr. Turtle, and we made the decision of like, oh, maybe we should just start now. Should we go somewhere we don't go very often? So we went to Atoll Desert, which is called Jurassic Park Land for everyone else.
Yes.
And we didn't finish that until at least 11:15, by which point half of us were just like, this was a mistake. We shouldn't have started this.
Yes.
But yeah, that's quite a fun place.
And then we made the mistake of going to Underrot.
Oh, Underrot. Yeah. Oh, my lord.
And that was just a fucking...
I think that's the worst
so much of that
for sending you back to the beginning when you have a wipe.
It is, and it's also the worst one for, like, you can get a wipe just if you get unlucky. Like, if something throws shit on the floor that just happens to separate the wrong 2 people in the party, you can wipe the whole thing.
Yeah, I think, like, as a collective, it's one of the worst dungeons for me, this expansion, but not the worst boss. The worst boss for me is easily the one in Temple of Snakes with the static pulses from the ground, where you have to stand in the way. If you remember that one.
I mean, the whole thing for me is just I'm getting a bit bummed out by WoW at the moment. Because not only the mythics feeling like they've just been made overly hard and frustrating for no reason, and I know it's not. I know it's because they've actually shifted the mythic difficulty down. So what was a +8 is like a +4 now or something. But still,
it doesn't feel like because of the number. Yeah,
and it's getting seriously unreasonable trying to balance 3 specs and play 3 specs, because I basically have to be whatever other people don't want to be. So I'm either tanking or I'm healing or I'm DPSing, and I can't really do any of them to the maximum efficiency because I've constantly got to have Azerite gear that, instead of swapping out a weapon and therefore having the best stats for whatever that weapon's supposed to do, like it was in Legion, I now find myself wearing sort of a complete mishmash of gear with a little bit of heal and a little bit of DPS and a little bit of tank on them, because it's otherwise I'd be paying an exponentially growing fee in gold just trying to get optimum gear. So I'm constantly sort of struggling to do any of the things I'm asked to do at the level I'm happy to do them at. And then at the same time, I decided to get my dual crafting from the complete rut it's got. I got to 140 of 150. It's the first time I've ever got close to maxing out a profession, because usually I can't be asked. But I've had been enjoying dual crafting. But yeah, just I got to 140, and suddenly there's nothing that offers a skill up unless you either hope you get a 0.001% drop of something, or you spend. I think I worked out like everything I needed to make 5 of these things, which would have taken me all the way up to 150, and it was like something like 70,000 gold, which was more gold than I have. So it was just absolutely ridiculous.
70,000.
That's
insane.
That's fucked me off quite a bit as well.
That is that's actually shocking. Have you, with the whole regards to the rotating of specs thing, have you sort of got to the point where it's like, well, I've got to take one of these away if I'm going to enjoy it again? Like, are you going to have to pick 2 out of 3 or something?
Well, I don't really have the option, because the thing I like to do, which is tanking and healing, is the thing that, like, I get to heal the raids, which is great. But then if there's another healer, like a pure healer comes along, like a holy priest or something, I need to swap out to something. And obviously I can't swap out to a tank because there's already 2 tanks. If I want to do anything in our 5-man group, I have to be DPS.
I think we'll have to start rotating it through then between you and me for healing. And I think if that's the case,
no, possibly that might
because because it's out of our current characters that are 120 across our whole across our guild, pretty much is the only viable 5-man healers are you and me.
I had been tempted to see about leveling my my slacker mage back up.
Oh yeah,
because I mean that I did used to enjoy playing that as DPS, because not only was arcane mage in a good place in Legion, and you could melt faces quite efficiently, but it's range DPS, so it's a lot less chaotic.
I've noticed arcane mage is pretty good up there in our raid group.
But at the moment, it's like I really can't face seeing the 110 to 120 content.
I just started doing it on my warlock because I had gotten to the point, not with burnout, but more the fact it's like, no, I need to have a viable alternative, because I'm not always going to be able to do a healer for every group I'm in. I've gotten to the point now that I'm like, I'm going to level my demon, a demonology warlock that's 110 from last expansion.
Am I right in thinking that you can level 110 to 120 in Zuldazar if you've done
you can travel there once you've got certain parts of the story unlocked, yeah. And also, if you have war mode on, you get the 15% bonus, and there's also a PvP potion that adds another 10% on top of that. So I know that Bert leveled his Dark Iron Monk, who was a normal dwarf before, got from 110 to 120 that way. So that is an option. I mean, there's also the option of we could level like my warlock with your mage if you wanted to, as well.
Yeah, that might work, especially if you're demonology, so you got someone tanking for us.
Yeah, just like there's a Felguard. Off you go.
The only thing is, I was going to say I'm not actually sure if she is 110, but she definitely is, because she was the one I was maining in.
She was your main in Legion raids. Like,
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure she was 110. That would have been a problem if she wasn't.
A wizard did it and ran away.
Exactly.
So yes, that's a plan. Maybe that can
Some
reinterest me.
swapperoomies.
But yeah, the only other thing I've been doing this week is much adulting. I think my Geek card didn't get stamped. My adult card definitely did, because I've been dealing with mortgage brokers and bankers and estate agents and solicitors. I've never had to deal with a solicitor before. Yes, lots of paperwork, lots of signatures. I love that we live in the age of the paperless office, except that, I got like half a tree's worth of paper to go through the other day. I've got new credit cards, new bank cards. I've got a joint bank account now. It's all this adulting. It's not good for you.
No, it's not healthy.
No,
It's not healthy at all.
Terrible.
I can't believe you can manage that without like losing your shit.
Well, now speaking of losing your shit, I have to say, Robbie, there's something terribly wrong with Uranus.
Oh God! Oh God! How did you know?
Well, it's got a really big white spot on it.
Oh, I'll just go check in the mirror now.
You're better looking out the window with a telescope.
Oh, okay.
Because this is the planet Uranus, or however else you pronounce it, that either makes it sound like an arse or urine.
It's King George, clearly. That's what its name is.
Fine, good. Well, King George is a bit messed up at the moment, because it turns out that Uranus and Neptune are both experiencing a super summer. Effectively, the angle of their rotation, their angle of their axis, and their current position in orbit mean that they've had their polar regions, their north polar regions, facing the sun for a large period of time. And it's actually causing vast sort of storms over the poles of these two planets. They're both ice. I was going to say ice giants. I don't think they count as giants, but they're both ice planets. They're both liquid water interiors with frozen coats of hydrogen, helium, and methane and things like that around the edge. The methane in this particular case of Uranus is what gives it that sort of light blue color to it. And as obviously they're heating up because they're permanently facing towards the sun, their sort of massive vortexes are forming, and on Neptune it looks like a big black spot, and on Uranus it looks like a white spot. So there's some really interesting stuff going on in our solar system. But one of the things that really made me smirk about this article was that the images are coming from a service called the Outer Planet Atmosphere's Legacy program. Right. Now, this obviously shortens to Opal. You remember that bit in Avengers where he spells out the strategic homeland, blah, 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 and he says, what does that tell you? And Pepper Potts says that someone really wanted to make our agency sound like S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
That sounds like what they've done here. They've picked a name they wanted it to sound like and then fitted things in, including randomly the word legacy. So
why is legacy in there?
I've no idea.
Like, at least you could have called it something like, I don't know, if you wanted a really cool name, you could have called it League.
Well, if they called
Outer
it like
Planet Atmosphere League.
If they called it something sensible like program, it would be OPAP. OPAP. No, dude, that
sounds like a really, really bad 80s robot. Like OPAP.
Interestingly, apparently, a lot of the planets, a lot of the other suns or stars where we've found planets orbiting them, they tend to be in the same sort of region and same sort of orbit and distance as Uranus and Neptune. So it's quite important to study these because actually, this is the main type of planets we're spotting. So yeah, it's a turbulent time on Uranus. Who knew?
It is.
Who knew these things?
Who, yeah, exactly. Who knew? It's definitely something I've been trying to keep secret.
Right, good. Sticking with space, do you remember when would it be? Nearly a year ago.
A while
A while ago. We were discussing the brand new Star Trek that was coming back to television screens after a long hiatus following the last Star Trek film, Nemesis, the last Prime Universe Star Trek film, I should say. Well, Robbie, do you remember what my original opinion of Star Trek Discovery was?
Was it positive?
I don't think it was, not immediately.
Was it something else that began with P?
I might have got my ranty pants in a twist once or twice.
You did. That is very true. I do remember that bit.
Yes. So I had a lot of problems because they changed the Klingons too much, and the Klingons had technology they shouldn't have had. And
were they now Velcro? Like, was that the problem?
Anyway, roll around a year later, and we're on season 2 of Star Trek Discovery. And
who would have thought it would have got this far?
I nearly didn't even get to season 1. So
right.
So a lot in between, a lot of the writing staff got laid off. In fact, I think it was everyone but one person got laid off.
Yeah, it was significant cuts.
And almost sort of going unnoticed was the addition to the writing team they hired. One director of Star Trek fame, Jonathan Frakes, otherwise known as Will Riker, he who sits very strangely in chairs. So, as it turns out, my opinion of Discovery Season 2 is greatly improved. I'm absolutely loving it. So we won't spoil the end of Season 1, but we will say that the end does bring some more familiar Star Trek elements into it. And I guess it's going to be a little spoilery if I'm going to talk about one particular episode in Season 2. It was nothing major, but yes, I do feel the need to put out a spoiler warning. So give you a few seconds to skip ahead 5 minutes, or to put your fingers in your ears and go la 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 loudly, so that your co-workers think you've gone crazy.
Just take your headphones off for a minute.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So, Season 2, the last episode that aired, which is episode 4, I believe, addresses some wobbles in the canon absolutely wonderfully. So we see that Klingons after the war have started growing long hair, as is the fashion. That's cool. That takes them, back to what we know as Klingons. We know that they're trying to unite behind a single house and a new emperor, or empress, I should say. And this is proving problematic, as is any good piece of narrative. There's got to be a bit of drama in there. And she introduces them to a new kind of starship, which looks like the traditional Klingon cruiser. We're liking that. And then they address why Captain Pike addresses why Enterprise is currently dead in the water and in need of repairs. It's because they've rolled out the holographic communicators that they have been using throughout Star Trek Discovery to look all flashy and modern. And apparently they're causing massive ship-wide failures. And Captain Pike has given the order to return the Enterprise to classic view screen communications. They even joke about how, he's being a bit of a Luddite and he's, against modern technology and all this, that, and the other. And I just think it's absolutely brilliant because they're basically just doing what Star Trek has always done really well, which is going back and just correcting all the little continuity niggles in such a loving and thought and clever way. Like I'm put in mind of my favorite DS9 episode where they have to go back to the Trouble with the Tribbles episode of Kirk's time, and they explain that they had a fashion at the time for retro tech, and that women's uniforms were more revealing and all this sort of thing. And the episode in Enterprise when they explain that what happened to the Klingons to make them lose their ridges in the original series and all this sort of thing. I just think it's really cute and caring and showing an attention to detail and a fondness for the genre and what's gone before it. And I think for me it feels like there's fingerprints of Will Riker all over this. Like he's a lifelong dyed-in-the-wool Star Trek person, and he's bringing some of that to what had, I think, quite clearly been originally designed to be set in the other Star Trek universe, the ones from the film remakes, the Kelvin verse or whatever it's called. And now that hasn't happened, and the Discovery is now 100% established as it's going to be in the real Star Trek Prime canon, suddenly they are, taking steps to, just with humor and with little throwaway lines here and there, nothing that disrupts the sort of casual viewer, fixing the little things up. And I think it's very cute. And there's also the character of Captain Pike is very much playing the part of the traditional Star Trek fan. Like at one point he jokes that he hadn't thought of a particular tactic because who has ever heard of a starship that can jump around the universe powered by magic mushrooms? And the little throwaway comments like that are just sort of, they're so the sort of traditional fan who's come up to this and gone, huh? And like I say, I find it really cute, and it's very engaging writing.
Yeah.
So,
are you kind of sad that this wasn't the approach they took in the first season, because it had very mixed opinions, like the seriousness of it?
I don't know, because by the end of it, even with the parts about it that I said I was less impressed with, I was still loving Star Trek Discovery by the last few episodes of season 1, and at the same time, I almost find it cuter now watching them go from where they went for thematic purposes and how they're going to get to Kirk. I'm almost enjoying that now more, because they've put themselves in a position of we've gone for this stylistic approach. Now how do we marry that with everything we know of Star Trek going forward? And I still think that Discovery is a breath of fresh air for the setting, because it doesn't focus purely on the primary bridge crew. It often picks lower ranking characters and tells their stories, and it tells some more engaging sort of personal stories and things like that. So yeah, I don't think I wanted to change too much more than it is now. I think it's finding itself in a good place. So
it's almost like the first season was actually season 0.
Yeah, or it was season 0.5. I think the point where we know that they took 6 months to do reshoots and rethinks and all this sort of thing. The point where I think they realized we can't set this in the Kelvin verse. We're going to need to make it somehow fit the real.
So stitching it together.
I keep saying the real. That's not correct. It's no more real than the other, but the prime Star Trek timeline. I think they had about half a series of finding their feet, and I think now by season 2 they've really sort of got their feet under them, and they're really going for it. I think it's nice seeing little things like the evolution of the uniforms. The Discovery crew are all like, you got shiny new uniforms. They're a bit bright, a bit colourful. It's cute watching them use this for humour, if you see what I mean.
Oh, okay, yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
And it's well done humour as well. It's not taking the mick out of itself. It's just having a sort of adult sort of snigger at things that it knows the audience knows, and that sort of thing. So
not quite breaking the fourth wall, but just sort of poking fun at it.
Yeah. I think, and I quite like that. I think if it went all Deadpool on us, it would really.
I was about to say, are you waiting for the Star Trek versus The Office hybrid?
No, I don't think so. Although I have heard that they are doing a Star Trek rom-com
Oh
animated one.
wow! Okay, no.
Yeah, I think we talked about this a little bit, and we were of the opinion that we didn't want it. But yeah, I
Not
haven't heard
for
any more
us.
about that.
Not for us.
Not for us.
No.
So we'll see.
Yeah, we will. Should I tell you about something rather terrifying?
Oh, go on then.
Okay.
Has it to do with Uranus?
Oh no, it's actually to do with apples. Funnily enough.
Oh, okay, apples. I do find apples terrifying. Yes.
Not the edible kind, the mechanical.
Oh, I
kind.
see.
Yes.
Oh well, I made a terrible mistake there.
Yeah. So what if I told you that Apple had a bug that meant you could briefly eavesdrop on recipients to a group FaceTime call without their consent?
Oh yes, I'd heard about this.
That's
We have a bit of
terrifying.
it is. We had a bit of a worry about this at work because it came through the official, bug and 0-day channels. I also heard a terrifying detail about this that the NSA has asked Apple if they can leave this in as a feature.
Oh God.
Yes.
No. But it
Does not want.
So it was the bug really was first noticed in late January, and this is the thing that got me. It said, and revealed that some Apple users could secretly listen to people they called via FaceTime, even if the recipient did not accept the call. Fuck.
So I think this was, if I remember the details correctly, this is if you try and place a FaceTime call to someone who is already on a FaceTime call, you just suddenly get their side, like the conversation that's going on,
which you think would just go to like what was old school call waiting.
Yeah.
Oh dear. But Apple did deem it so serious that it did disable group FaceTime features while it was investigating the fix. Like, I'm glad they thought it was serious enough. That like it's fucking ridiculous. Like, how is this something that has only just been discovered? Like, this must have been going on for a while, surely.
Well, yeah, and like I say, obviously certain bodies of law enforcement in America have probably been taking advantage of this for a while.
Yeah, probably. What's even worse is that, I say worse, but in a way it's good for this person, is that a 14-year-old was the one that told Apple about it.
That's what surprised me about the fact they actually did take FaceTime down, because I would have thought that they would have just seen this from a teenager and gone, nah.
Yeah, exactly.
Nah, this doesn't seem, how would he know more than a big multinational $1,000 trillion whatever company? But no.
Yeah, apparently, like, and I knew about the whole bug bounty things where if you're sort of like a white hacker, in terms of if you find a security,
if you're a white, I think you mean a white hat.
A white hacker in terms of the good and evil thing, that the other side of it. I know it
sounded like you were just implying that the hacker had to be Caucasian.
No, why bring race into everything, Razerbug?
It's white hat and black hat hackers.
Oh, is it? My bad.
Yes.
That's not what
I play with in Westworld, where they have the white hats and the black hats of the cowboys.
Okay. But if you had reported it and found a security flaw, most companies would honor that and sort of say, well done for doing our job for us, have some money. And this is kind of terrifying that it took a 14-year-old to report this, when surely this I don't know whether this gets to the point of, like, not naivety, but like an adult maybe didn't report this because A, most adults think that someone else would have reported it, and B, if you're an adult, most of the, like, there's a maturity level where you're just like, actually, like, do I report this? Because some people are shit.
Yeah. The thing that gets me here as well is that how on earth did this not get picked up by their internal QAs? I mean, trying to call a device when a call is already in process is a fairly standard thing to test for. And I know QA engineers that test for the most ridiculous, obscure things.
Well,
especially in communication software.
Yeah, and especially when a company is as valuable and as important in the current communication system network as Apple.
See, this is the problem is at the moment, Apple is in a really awful place for bugs. I mean, the current operating system, Mojave, it's riddled with problems. So much so that we've had to just tell people to not roll it out at work because people are upgrading and it's destroying it's corrupting their profiles, so they're losing their files and their identity on their machines. It's not playing ball with Active Directory or LDAP systems at the moment, and similar things are happening. People are getting locked out. Passwords aren't changing. Passwords aren't being updated. I mean,
Passwords are easily vulnerable in that situation.
yeah, and obviously, don't forget we just had the blank password bug only a few months ago, where if someone pressed enter, it just unlocked without a password.
Yeah, it defaulted to that's the correct password. Have the system.
I mean, it's just at the moment there's some serious problems in Apple's testing of its operating systems and its phone systems, or mobile device systems, I should say. So, I mean, it doesn't. Thankfully, as I don't use FaceTime and I don't use Apple devices, except for my MacBook, which is like 2012 anyway. So, thankfully,
there was a good joke / meme going around where it said Apple users are shocked by this, Android users just assume it happens anyway, which I quite liked. It's just like sort your shit out, honestly. Like that's a pretty major thing to just sort of not tell the public about.
Well, yeah, that's the other thing.
Because someone who developed it must have known that was a possibility, right? Like that can't be just down to a coding problem going, oh yeah, that's not a possibility. We won't substitute for that, right? Like, is that lazy work in the development, or is that more of a? It might not happen. I'm not going to safeguard it.
I suspect their testing is all automated and it needs reviewing, and right. They're as a cost saving exercise there, and possibly as a we have to put out features on according to this program, that they just sort of pushed something out that was it got past all the automated tests, so they're just like, right, put it live. It could also be that these updates were pushed live before they were meant to be. And then, obviously, because it didn't immediately look like there was a problem, they just decided, all right, well, we'll just leave it and act like we meant that to happen.
It was also really interesting as well that the update that fixed this bug only was rolled out the day that the news went live about the fact that this 14-year-old had found this bug.
If
so that makes you wonder how long had that bug actually been there for.
Well, that's just it. So I know that we subscribe to a few of the security feeds and get notified about suspected or bugs that are in testing, or 0 days that have been found before they're released to the general public and before like the news companies are reporting on them. So the security community knew about this a little bit before the general public, but even so, it's a bit terrifying that the general public can be completely unaware of this stuff, and especially with something like FaceTime. Like, there could have been some really private and important, and even in some cases like confidential conversations that were being observed because of this. I mean, I know for a fact there's several courts in the US that if they have to give evidence via video link, they use FaceTime.
Oh God!
Yeah, so some of these, could potentially have affected criminal cases, or cases where the victims were sensitive. So there are like bigger implications here. Now, obviously, there's on the flip side of that, there's the argument to be made: why the hell is a court using an off-the-shelf software for doing its very sensitive remote evidence?
Yeah, I'll give you one example of that. It's called a voting machine in the US.
Yeah,
that's
true.
Why.
Yeah. So,
but overall, like, how important is it that like a government agency was basically like, no, keep it in?
Well, that's the other scary thing, isn't it? When the NSA and the CIA or whatever want to be,
because there was there was the whole thing about also phone passwords and cracking and stuff like that, where they had Apple was sent to I can't remember which court system it was, but they were basically told like you need to be able to have a way of being able to get through anyone's phone when we tell you.
Yeah, the Apple have been pressed several times to build in backdoors to their operating system, and thankfully they've resisted those calls so far as we know. There's equal pressure been put on Google for the same, I'm sure. And as for Chinese brand phones, we've no idea if they've had government influence on them, and it's enough to scare governments around the world to remove like Huawei products and things like that. So yeah, you do have to worry, just how secure are our devices and the things we basically invest our life in.
I mean, don't worry, 5G's not going to do that to us, of course. Don't worry. Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit worried. A little bit worried.
Indeed. Mm-hmm. Terrifying. Let's end on a happy note.
Yeah, let's end on a happy note. Let's first, however, we mentioned that we raid with them. We mentioned the wonderful ladies of Girls Gone Wow. You can listen to Girls Gone Wow and tons of other great shows on our parent network. That's VOG Network, the Voice of Geeks Network. There's absolutely tons of wonderful on point and geek culture shows, as well as a host of other stuff as well. So if you're ever in need of a little more podcast action in your life, head over to vognetwork.com.
Yes.
Now, we haven't got any feedback from the listeners this week, but I did find something that I qualified firmly under nope.com.
Oh. I hate this so much.
Robbie, as our resident vegan, what do you think to this?
This is dire. Please fuck off.
This is Wendy's, as in the hamburger chain Wendy's, meat soda with a hint of ketchup.
I mean, I'm so fucking glad that I've read the article and found out that this was a prank. I'm so glad.
I was wondering what the obvious plant label was on it. I was wondering at first when I first saw it if it was like a vegetarian thing, but I realised what it is now. But yes, I think this is a wonderful piece of trolling, and it's the label says it's the great taste of Wendy's hamburger now in liquid form.
Isn't that also just known as beef dripping?
Oh,
or mucky fat or whatever it's called up north.
Oh, no, it's just horribleness.
Is it not?
No.
It's not that great.
No, it's vile.
So you wouldn't have that carbonated and put in a bottle?
I would not have that carbonated and put in a bottle. No, I'm very glad that this is not quite as legit as some other foul things out there, like Bovril.
Oh, God. Why are there so many horrible things?
Because people eat random foul things and think it's some sort of delicacy. It's not.
But isn't Bovril just basically meat Marmite?
It's described as beef extract, but I know what's brown and sticky and can be extracted from a cow, and I don't plan on eating it or drinking it. Thank you very much. It's not right. It's not right, Robbie. It's not right. Neither is
it's not right. It's not right. Do you know what though? I do know one interesting fact about Bovril.
Oh,
and that it was invented because there was a shortage of beef supplies on the war fronts in the 1870s.
Well, there you go.
Because it's like we need to feed the troops some meat-like substitute because meat.
Today I learned.
Yeah, and what was worse? I'll read the history bit of it just so you know. So in 1870, during the Franco-Prussian War, Napoleon III ordered 1 million cans of beef to feed his troops, but there was a distinct lack of this. So large quantities of beef were available in various parts of the world, but its transport was, problematic in the 1870s. Therefore, the creator John Lawson Johnson created a product known as Johnson Fluid Beef. Yum,
Fluid
yum.
beef.
Yum, yum,
yes.
yum.
You definitely want something called fluid beef.
But technically, it's considered a quote-unquote war food.
Isn't Fluid Beef the name of the battle elixirs in the next WoW expansion?
Man, that's actually Fluid Beef sounds like a really awesome like new wave techno band.
I also think it might be the name of the show.
Okay, then.
It's either Fluid Beef or Something's Wrong with Uranus, so, you know.
I'll go with the first one. Thank you. Okay.
Okie doke. Well, that's a little bit of nonsense to end the show on. You can join us for raiding if you play World of Warcraft on the EU servers. If you head over to girlsgonewow.net/Discord, that's where they have information on how you can join us on Wednesday nights. If you want to see the show notes and click the links, you can find them over at thegeekcard.podbean.com, or one word. And if you want to get in touch with us and let us know about the things we've been talking about on the show, if you want to talk to us about Liquid Beef or Uranus, it's at TGC Show on the Twitters.
Oh, God.
Robbie, where can they follow your Liquid Beef?
Oh, God. You can follow me at Robbie_glow on Twitter.
Oh, yours should be vegan beef.
That's called cows. Cows are vegan beef.
Cows are vegan beef. Wow. I'm also now wondering if cows are vegan beef should be the show title, or maybe a subtitle.
No, Google search, are cows vegan? What?
Are cows vegan? All right, okay. I think I've been sniffing at the ink pad of the stamp. I will tell you that if you want to follow me, I am at RZBG, and then I will request of you your Geek card. There we are. Thank you very much. And I will ink up the stamp. And fantastic. Once again, all up to date. Geek cards stamped for the week. And we will see you again next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
You've been listening to The Geek Card with your hosts, Razerbug and Robbie Glow. You can find The Geek Card wherever fine podcasts are found and on the web at thegeekcard.podbean.com. The Geek Card is a proud member of the Voice of Geeks network, where you can find other amazing podcasts like Orange Lounge Radio, Starboard Power Coupling, and Girls Gone WoW. Find out more at www.vognetwork.com.